We're going to look at a method now for editing a mesh, and the feature that we're going to be looking at is called the bevel. And to demonstrate how the bevel works, I'm going to create a cube. Let's make a rectangular shape here. Okay, that looks good. And let's pull it up a little bit. And I'm going to go to shading and smooth shade all. This way I can see the faces and the edges. I like to model where I can see the faces. It just gives me a stronger sense of what the volume is that I'm working with here. When you are creating images digitally, particularly with 3D packages like Maya or Max, the computer renders an image that is extremely hyper realistic, and models that are generated in a 3D package have a tendency to look almost like plastic when you're done because of the perfect forms that you are creating and working with. It's very difficult to make things look realistic. In nature, realistic things have imperfections. And the way that we introduce something like an imperfection into a 3D rendered image is to look at ways we can edit some of these very hard-edged features that make our model look plasticky or hyper-realistic. So in this case we're going to do what's called beveling the edge. So let's zoom in a little bit and look at the edge of this. I'm going to click away, and you can see, looking right at the model, how hard that edge is, how sharp, razor sharp. So if you were modeling perhaps a chair, some type of asset like a piece of furniture or something architectural, a building perhaps, one of the nice things you can do to get away from that sharp edged appearance is beveling the edge. Right now I have my model selected and we are in component mode. Everything is, all the edges are green. But as I said, we want to bevel the edge. So we're going to want to select the edge so that we can work with it. In other words, we want to go into the edge mode. So let's go to select, and we're going to look for edge. And again, the hotkey for that on your keyboard is F10. So I click on that and my edges turn blue. When I mouse over, you can see they turn red. That means I can select any of these edges. Let's select this edge right here. And it turns that kind of orangey brown color there. It means it's selected. So let's go ahead and bevel it and see how that works. When you bevel an edge, it means you are editing your mesh. So let's look up here at Edit Mesh. And we're going to scroll all the way down to bevel. Now I'm not going to bother to open up the interface here. It's much easier if I just turn bevel on, and when I do that, watch that edge we selected very carefully. What we've done now is split that face in two, and this is the start of being able to create that bevel. It is beveled now, it's just gigantic. It's huge. Alright, so let's get to our attributes. Alright. And there's our bevel. Now there are two things that I want to point out to you here in the attribute editor that are important for you to understand about the bevel. The first one is offset. See, here's offset. And let's look at the toggle here. The offset allows us to make that face smaller or larger. And we can actually make the offset pretty tiny, which softens that edge already without adding any extra polys. So if you're trying to keep a model very low poly, you can use just the offset and make it small. And we have indeed softened the edge of our model. Okay, now let's go back to our shape here. You also have segments. And I'm going to make my offset a little bigger so you can see how the segments work. And that adds subdivisions. And I can add a few. See, I've added them, the lines, these edges. And see how round and soft that edge is now. Don't need to add tons, just a few works. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you are wanting to create beveled edges on all the sides here, well, we've only done them on one. So let's figure out a way now you can do them all at the same time. So I'm going to back out of this, Control Z. There we go, back to where we started. I'm still in edge mode. They're all blue. See, I can go around and select different edges, but I want to select all four at the same time. So I'm going to reselect that one on the end. Now I'm holding the Shift key down on my keyboard. And I'm going to go around and select all of these. There. Now I've got all four selected. Let's apply our bevel. Again, go to Edit Mesh, open that up, scroll all the way almost to the bottom. There's bevel. Let's turn it on, and now you see all four edges are now offset. Now let's go ahead and make that offset a little smaller. Kind of a nice shape there. And I'm going to get just a tiny bit bigger. Okay. And let's add some segments. There. All four edges are now beveled. And that's what the model looks like. And that's how you bevel an edge.